That was Amy's finest hour. So, I think it was Amy. Amy was. Okay. Kyle, we ready? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's March 20th, first day of spring, 2019. And let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. And Jason, could you lead us?
Okay. Who's doing it?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God comes first.
That's the way we all correct you.
I said under God.
Okay.
You forgot indivisible.
No, I didn't. It's one nation under God.
Indivisible. Oh, I thought it was indivisible under God.
No, it's under God, indivisible.
All right. Roll call.
I'm
We know
old.
the headline in the Daily Press tomorrow.
Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Fresca.
Here.
Vice Chair Lambert.
Here.
Commissioner Landris.
Here.
Commissioner McKinnon. Commissioner Perry.
Here.
Chair Fonda Bonanno.
Here. And the Planning Director's report.
Good evening, Commission. Kyle, do you have the slide for
The newest line.
Commissioner Fresco? Yeah. So coming up at the Planning Commission for your next hearing on April 3rd, we have a fence wall hedge modification appeal at 634 21st Place. And we also that evening have a resolution of intention for a proposed IZO amendment.
Oops.
I'm sorry, the resolution of intention is tonight. This is the actual proposed interim zoning ordinance amendment related to SRO. So you're reviewing the resolution of intention tonight for this item, and then we'll bring it back on the April 3rd meeting for the actual hearing. It will be an IZO. We're recommending an IZO for the SROs. Yeah. And then on April 17th, bringing back the Virginia and 21st Street condominium project that you saw a few months ago. Also that night, 1802 Santa Monica Boulevard, which is a development review permit for a auto dealership on the corner of 18th and Santa Monica. And then we have the conditional use permit application for the Trader Joe's at 2300 Wilshire. For City Council for next week on March 26th, we have the zoning ordinance amendments that the Commission reviewed. We also have the Affordable Housing Production Program ordinance amendment that would eliminate the extremely low income option. And then again, the SRO uses the IZO that you're doing the reso tonight, and then we'll be back before you on April 3rd. City Council on April 23rd, we have the 1921 Oceanfront Walk DR appeal and also the 1828 Oceanfront Avenue Development Review Permit appeal. And then that night we're taking the Planning Commission mission statement endorsement. So you guys worked on your mission statements. That will go to council. And then upcoming, excuse me, recent and upcoming community workshops. So March 19th, there was a meeting of the R1 Technical Working Group. And then our next meeting of the PICO Wellbeing Project is Economic Opportunities, and that's on April 6th. And that concludes my report.
Okay, are there any questions for the director?
I have a question. I'm confused. We're hearing the council's doing an urgency IZO on March 26th. How is that different from the one on the 23rd? No, not our. They're doing something on April 23rd regarding SRO IZO amendments.
So why is that listed twice?
So these are anticipated dates, but what is proposed on March 26th, to clarify, that is an urgency ordinance. That's a 45-day, it's a recommended 45-day prohibition on SRO uses.
I got it.
That's going forward on March 26th. What we anticipate, should this commission, adopt the resolution of intention, we would bring red lines before you, and we would bring red line language regarding SRO uses on April 23rd.
Yeah, because the urgency IZO is only good for 45 days, so we have to almost immediately bring back
I got it.
extension.
I got it. So then I'm assuming that those 3,000, however many units, SRO units are being proposed, that they don't fall under the Housing Accountability Act. They've applied for administrative approvals, right?
Yes.
But they don't fall under the housing, they're not far enough along to,
And the Housing Accountability Act actually wouldn't apply until you all would be reviewing them, and you're not.
but we
at that
wouldn't
point
review
yet.
them, they're AAs.
Or staff would be reviewing them. I don't.
Oh, I
Believe that
gotcha.
I don't believe they're in that state yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Let's go on to planning commissioner announcements. Any announcements? Leslie?
I haven't given an update on the R1 task
Please.
force. We had our third meeting last night. Staff is doing a great job, by the way. I'm very impressed. And the work, it's like the first stage. There's going to be a community outreach, planning commission meeting, et cetera. So this is really the first stage. We've had 3 meetings. I think there's going to be a 4th one and a 5th one if necessary. And it's heavily populated by architects, which is understandable. I mean, they're the technical people who need to work with this, but the residents, I've really developed some very strange sets of friendships on this task force that one would never have guessed.
How many people have been attending these, roughly?
Pardon?
Roughly, how many people are participating?
Well, it varies, 15, 20.
Okay.
And it's going along well. I mean, there are a lot of them, and ADUs keep coming up, and I keep discouraging that. So
Okay.
I think they're looking at an adoption date in late summer, early fall. But I'm going to be gone the whole month of September, so hopefully it won't be happening in September.
What do you mean you discourage ADUs?
Well, because ADUs development standards are part of a different part of the code.
Oh, so you discourage the
No,
discussion,
yeah,
not the ADUs?
yeah, I've had a head injury,
Okay.
and now I'm discouraging ADUs.
So, Sean, were you the other participant? No, you're on this alone. So we would need someone presumably to cover while you were gone.
really would prefer to be in here.
No, I mean, if you're going to miss a meeting.
going to be any more meetings of this task force.
Okay, good. Okay. Any other announcements? Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes. We have February 2nd in front of you. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to read through it and come up with any corrections.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Um,
Nina?
I gave some typos to staff, but they were completely non-substantive.
Okay, well, thank you for doing that independently of us. So we have a motion seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain because I was not present.
Okay. Now we're on to our public hearings. Let's move on to, statement of official action. I have one of those here. Okay, we have statement of official action, which is 1618 Stamford Street. It's the one that we reviewed most recently. Are there any questions or comments?
Move approval.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Commissioner
All right,
Anders?
If I'm looking at the right permit, we had the applicant had volunteered the statement regarding
Corporate housing.
the applicant had. I'm going to get to that. The applicant had also volunteered the statement regarding providing access, providing support services or case management. And I'm not sure. Unless I'm missing it, I'm not seeing it in the description. And it was volunteered by the applicant. Am I missing it somewhere?
Roxanne, you want to
Yeah.
speak to that?
So, if you look at page 6,
Are we now in the? Oh, it's now.
number 4,
That's usually in the description rather than in the conditions. I'm fine with it being in the conditions, but usually people don't like it in the conditions. But sure, it's better.
Okay, any other questions?
It
Okay.
is correct. It's in the description.
can it stay where it is, or does it need to be moved?
We'll go ahead and go back and double check the audio.
Okay, so we'll just continue it for this evening?
Sure.
Okay. Motion to continue?
So moved.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any objection? Okay, so the statement of official action for 1618 Stanford Street is continued to presumably our next meeting.
Did Commissioner Landers have other issues? It sounded like there may be. Okay.
Corporate housing.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. Okay, public hearings.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I was writing and I didn't hear you vote because I need to abstain because I wasn't there and I had no idea what happened.
Okay, so there was one abstention on that vote to continue.
Sorry, actually, just as a note, that is a condition. 3 should be a condition. It's not volunteered by the applicant. That's both a description and a condition. Number 3 is both a description and a condition, but number 4 is only a description. Just when you circle back with Mr. And. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, next item?
Did we vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, okay.
Now we're on to
Oh, that's why.
Director's report, the 1828 Ocean Avenue. Do we have a staff report?
Do we have any chits?
They're all on consent.
No, it's a public hearing.
Okay. Do the applicant have any interest in speaking
Public
for
hearing.
any reason?
We
Unless
are
they-
going to, and I promise for a very short discussion, we are going to, staff's going to pull these items. We had a couple of clarifications that we provided in a revised STOA that staff is going to identify.
Can I clarify something or ask? So can we do both of these items at the same time? Can we have a?
For next time.
We can discuss them together and vote separately?
I thought you were putting them over.
No, they're going to clarify them right now.
So, okay. Hold on.
Pulling them from consent.
Okay. So,
You wanted to pull 8C from consent.
SROs?
Yep.
Yeah. I just have some questions. 5 minutes.
okay. You, Russell, you ready to go?
I am ready. Thank
Good,
you.
please.
Good evening, Chair and Planning Commission. Russell Bunham with the City Planning Division. This project is located at 1828 Ocean Avenue. This is a vesting tentative track map for development project that came before you previously on October 3rd and December 5th. They are presently on appeal to City Council, but we're here before you with the vesting maps. So this one is at 1828 Ocean Avenue. The project is located at Pico Boulevard and Ocean Avenue on the corner. It's in the Oceanfront District and Beach Overlay District, currently used as a parking lot. We do have, as Roxanne mentioned, a few updates from the Statement of Official Action. As the updates are, the map number needed to be corrected, and there was a few conditions of approvals that were referencing wrong code section or duplicative language, and again, the map number. Those are the corrections. There's an update to the Statement of Official Action that'll come before you for signature. That's all for that one. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Any questions? Okay, let's move on.
You want the other one for 1921?
Sure.
Sure.
While Russell is transitioning, I just want, since it's pulled from consent, I want to disclose both that I drove by the site coincidentally today and saw the airspace, and also I received within the last week, I've received 2 emails from Paula Larmore on behalf of the applicant, articulating reasons for us to move forward this evening with changes. Number one, to move forward with this item tonight, and number two, to make changes related to the runoff conditions.
I'm glad you did that. I actually got an email, I can't remember, a few days ago from Paula about conditions 17 and 19, which appear to be gone, and I spoke to her this afternoon about the case.
I'm in the same position. I had a non-substantive message from Paula last week presumably regarding whether I was going to be here tonight, and that's as far as we got. And then today she called to go over the same issues that have been disclosed by the other commissioners.
I also received a phone message from Paula, because I don't pick up phone calls from 0000 United States, just so you know. But I sent her an email telling her I would indeed be here tonight, and here I am, and that's it.
I feel left out. Paula did not call me, and but Hank did call me, so I got the skinny on it. So we're ready to move on.
Just as we did vote, I just wanted to note on 1828 that, as far as my understanding was, also from the communications, on both instances, the applicant is concerned about runoff issues and is looking to do the stormwater capture and the water capture and reuse that is desired and necessary given climate change and the need for stormwater capture and water capture. But the code is the code. But I did want to acknowledge that.
Okay, Russell.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll be quick. Russell Bunham again with City Planning. This one is another map. This one's located at 1921 Oceanfront Walk. This is a vesting tentative parcel map. This one's located at the corner of Bay Street and Ocean Way, again in the Oceanfront District and Beach Overlay District. Currently a vacant site. And again, here's a list of the updates that staff has made to the Statement of Official Action, which again includes the map number. In this case, we had a typo on the expiration date. Otherwise, the modifications are the same as the other project as well, with updates to the code section numbers and the deletion of duplicative language. And staff's available if you have any questions.
Okay. Sean?
I just had a question. Given that this is lower down, my understanding is that there is, on the other project, there is a runoff trail. Where would water go here? Is there a connection, or is it just going to go to the ocean?
For this evening,
Yeah.
this is not for the development review
I understand.
project. We did a full environmental impact report
Yeah.
on this project that studied all the urban runoff issues. I don't have that with me this
That's
evening,
fine.
but it was definitely analyzed, and it is definitely being taken care of in this project.
Terrific. Thank you.
Okay.
I move approval of 1828 Ocean Stoa for air rights.
Okay. All those in
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So you don't need a roll call for it, or do you?
We do need a roll
Okay.
call.
Okay. So we'll start at that end.
We need a roll call. Okay.
Surprise.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fresco,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lambert.
Yes.
Commissioner Landris.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
And Chair Fonda
Yes.
Bernardi.
And I'll move the vesting tentative parcel map for 1921 Oceanfront Walk.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fresco,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lambert,
Yes.
Commissioner Landris.
Yes.
Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Chair Fonda Bernardi.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to
8C, which we also want to pull.
Are we going to have a staff report? Can you just clarify what we're doing? I mean,
Sure.
yeah.
We'll do that.
Okay.
yeah.
So the item, So the item before you is a Planning Commission resolution of intention, which would be signaling this commission's intention to recommend that council amend the zoning ordinance regarding topics that may include single room occupancy uses, potentially tier 1 mixed use housing, a couple of other items as outlined in your report. Some of the areas of the zoning code could include land use designations, development standards, standards for specific uses, use classifications and definitions. This ROI is before you in order to address the proliferation and overconcentration of proposed SRO uses in the downtown. These proposed changes would be given consideration to changes in regional housing trends, and also to ensure that there's consistency with the housing policies and goals that are outlined in the loose and also in the downtown community plan, particularly focused on the need to develop a range of housing types and sizes for a variety of households, sizes, and also for various income levels. In terms of the schedule, what we anticipate bringing, this item is proposed in conjunction with, as we had noted earlier, an item that's going before council on March 26th, which is an urgency interim zoning ordinance that staff is recommending that council adopt. This would impose, as outlined in the staff report, which is online right now, that there be a 45-day prohibition for single room occupancy uses, and this prohibition would exclude, as proposed by staff, 100% affordable housing projects and specialized housing uses such as supportive, transitional housing, and emergency shelters. So that's going before council. That's proposed as a 45-day prohibition. Now, with respect to the ROI that's before you, should this council move that forward, we would bring a red line of some proposed changes for how to deal with SRR uses, potentially the Tier 1 mixed-use housing, and some of those areas of the code that I already outlined. We would anticipate bringing that forward on April 3rd in anticipation of council's consideration of those red line changes on April 23rd.
And that's an IZO.
We're contemplating it as such, yes.
Okay. I have a couple questions. For one thing, you couldn't make this up. I mean, 375 SRO units in the pipeline. You know, even in Santa Monica, you couldn't make that up. I mean, I support the urgency ordinance. I think it's important. I know Commissioner Landers has had conversations with you about the co-housing impact. You probably all know co-housing is a model whereby people live in units, but they share common areas like the kitchen and the living area, what have you, but they lease the units, and they're small. They tend to be small. And looking through the code, it seems to me that we don't really have a section that addresses that. It's not group residential, I don't believe, and I think you can figure that out by looking at the parking chart. Group residential is not considered multifamily housing,
Right.
And you calculate parking based on beds. So if you have a king-size bed versus a twin, does that mean you have 3 parking spaces? I don't really... Clearly, it doesn't work for what I'm talking about.
Right.
So it seems really that if it falls anywhere, it's in the SRO section.
Yeah, it's certainly something we're aware of, and we're seeing that. It's not specifically tied to the item before you tonight, but we are seeing examples where, building owners are converting existing units so that, people go into a vestibule or a hallway, they have direct access to a kitchen, but other than that, it's really just a series of doorways into private bedrooms with bathrooms. So it's definitely a different model, a co-living model that we're seeing. We are looking at ways to address that issue and thinking about, what code amendments can we bring forward to the Planning Commission and Council that would prevent that from happening. But
Well, I'm not sure we want to prevent it. I mean,
Well,
I'm thinking more new construction, actually.
Well, and we're seeing it in some cases propose a new construction as well. And I think we just want to have a conversation with the Commission and Council whether or not we want to see those types of units. But again, it's not part of the ordinance that is going to Council on Tuesday night, and it's not really part of what's before you.
No, but if the only section that it falls under is SRO housing, it does have an impact.
Yeah, I don't think we would consider it SRO housing.
Well,
at least
what
under
is
our
it?
current definition.
It's not really talked about in the code.
Right.
That's the problem.
That is the problem. I don't think it meets, they're not individual units like the SROs.
Yes, they are. There's a model that actually has people living in individual units
Yeah.
with shared living area and kitchen elsewhere in the project.
I think, yeah, I'm not sure we would consider that an SRO, but that's part of, I mean, I'm agreeing with you. We definitely need to look at it and figure out what we call it, what the definition is. And that's something that we're trying to figure out.
I mean, I just, there's so many policy impacts. For one thing, the people are complaining about their kids can't move back to Santa Monica because they can't afford it. This would be a cheaper, not cheap, a less expensive alternative, and also for seniors. And they're all over the country, and I know LA City is very aggressively trying to pursue this kind of housing, so it'd be kind of sad not to be part of that movement. The other question I have, with this, and I know it's just a temporary ICO, but for the ICO that would be longer, does it have any impact on student housing? Should SMC ever see the light and decide to develop student housing? Or it's on their land?
As
So.
the code is currently configured, and we'll be looking at a variety of issues, dormitories as that kind of housing falls under group residential. So.
But if they chose to do a co-housing model of that versus a dormitory?
This prohibition that would be in place for 45 days is not contemplated for that kind of use.
Yeah, I don't think 45 days is going to make a big difference in anybody's mind, but.
We will be bringing back red line language for the replacement.
I'm just thinking about,
Potential.
or employee housing on UCLA hospital land, which they control, we don't. It just seems like a model that could really work for a lot of reasons in Santa Monica. And
Yeah.
I'd be ashamed to do away with it altogether.
Well, and I think, and again, that's the kind of discussion we would want to have when we bring
When we
this
bring back
to
the
the
red
Planning
line,
Commission
okay.
on April 3rd.
Okay.
What we're doing by taking a urgency ordinance to council
Stopping
on
it.
Tuesday is just trying to
Right.
stop it so
Right.
that we could have the conversation
I understand.
you're talking about.
And as I asked before, there's no Housing Accountability Act impact on these AA applications, right? Because they meet the code now.
No, that's the intent of the IZO.
I gotcha. And I had one other question, if I could just remember what it is. Brain freeze. Go.
It'll come
I'll
back.
think of it.
Sean?
So largely, I appreciate that exchange. I just wanted to pick up, David, on what you said earlier about the folks who are chopping up existing apartments and converting them, as we heard in the medium-term rental discussion, that this is a really big problem. So do you anticipate that this IZO will give you additional tools to address that problem?
As we've anticipated or contemplated the SRO ordinance so far, no, we see that as a separate discussion, but it's certainly part of the same concern, and we are kind of on a parallel track trying to do something about existing units that are being divided up or new units that are proposed in that configuration. And I think it would definitely bring something to the commission, but separate from the SRO discussion, at least the way we're thinking of it right now.
Okay.
That could change.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm fine with this as it is for now. What I'm seeing is that there's the SRO conversation, there's the co-housing conversation, and there's the medium-term rental conversation. And as distinct as they are conceptually, the code and the tools may have quite a bit of overlap. And so I hope that as those three conversations move forward on a parallel track, we're kind of stress testing them against each other to make sure that we do no harm, essentially. For example, I think that, I've said this over and over again, that adding the concept of domicile or intentional, intended permanent residence is a tool that could help us regulate all three types.
Right.
But there are other things, including prohibitions, that we might want to try to avoid contradiction. So if those conversations can at some point happen together, and we or the so that this can happen in public a little bit, that would be helpful, I think, in building confidence toward the outcomes.
Sure, and I think that could be part of the discussion when it comes back to the Planning Commission for your discussion and recommendation to City Council. It might be that you make a recommendation on the specific SRO ordinance, but then you also recommend that the council consider those other issues that you're talking about, or that council gives direction to staff to consider those issues and bring it back at some point. So it's certainly part of the same.
I remembered my question.
Yeah.
Two, actually. When I support co-housing as a concept, as a model, I'm talking about new construction. I'm certainly not talking about the conversion of existing rental housing into it. The other question I have is, is the council going to sort of fool around with and adopt bedroom mixes for Tier 1? Is that anticipated? Because that scares the heck out of me.
Don't know yet.
Without any feasibility study at all. We don't know?
We haven't.
Okay.
We haven't figured out what the permanent or the extension of the ordinance includes. This-
But somewhere I read that Tier 1 is part of the thinking, that there might be a bed, like with Tier 2, a bedroom, prescribed bedroom mix.
That's noted in the staff report as
Right.
one item that may be, that's under consideration. We haven't brought the redlining language for it. We just wanted to be broad
I gotcha.
so that
I
there
gotcha.
is
Okay. Thank you.
disclosure on things
Yeah.
being considered.
Yeah, and
Okay.
certainly the commissioners who want more information on this, when the staff report for council comes out, probably tomorrow or, it's out. So there's a pretty clear explanation of what we're trying to do.
Okay, Jason.
Yeah, I move approval of the resolution of intention.
Second. Okay, any other discussion? Amy, would you like to
Yeah,
say
I
a
guess
few words?
I just wanted to encourage definitions, whether we're talking about kind of the specific issues that staff has brought up or kind of the adjunct issues that Commissioner Lambert and Landris are talking about. You know, maybe you guys could even share some definitions, because just so when we have a conversation,
Yes,
we're all clear
yes.
about what it
It's-
is that we're
it's-
talking about.
It's we're all in on that. Okay, so it's a simple question before us. We've had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Like to call the question? Let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fresco,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lambert,
Yes.
Commissioner Landris.
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Chair Fonda Bernardi.
Yes. Okay. So now we are on to future commission agenda items. Going once, going
Well,
twice.
I'll just jump in and given what we heard from David a moment ago, I think to the extent that there is an opportunity at some point as these 3 tracks are moving forward, it could be helpful to have a discussion item about the ways these issues relate to each other in order to inform policy development moving forward.
Okay. And any written communications? Public input? Okay. Motion to adjourn. I'd like to say that Amy's record is safe.
So moved.
That was 32 minutes. And
So moved.
okay. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. We're adjourned.